Hi, I'm Tim of the 1916 Company, announcing our all-new 1916 Company app. Check out our all-new community features, including wrist time, where you can log the watch you wear, how often you wear your watches, and see a graphical representation of how you use your collection. But wait, there's more, because this wrist time feature allows you to post in real time to our live feed of user wrist shots. Our community functions also include professionally moderated discussions, all sorts of views, debate, insights into what people want to say about the watches of our times, and all your favorite features are coming back, including media, editorial from Jack Forster, video from yours truly. You can continue to build your online collection and your wish list, plus all the commercial features are back. Buy, trade, and sell through the app, browse our global inventory of pre-owned and new watches. A wrist shot could begin the process of a trade or a purchase. Find the 1916 Company app on the Apple App Store and Google.
Hello and welcome to the 1916 podcast. I'm Tim Masso here with Armand Johnston. We are discussing stocking stuffers, the holidays, gifting for watch enthusiasts, and we're going to field a couple of questions from our listeners. Before we get started, this is an interactive experience, so reach out to podcasts at the1916company.com to suggest segments or show topics. All right, Armand, so we've kind of got this idea of stocking stuffers. Let's open by talking about the kind of things you can easily buy for watch collectors this holiday season, because my perception is that trying to buy someone a watch, like a luxury watch, almost always disappoints. So let's just jump at that. Like, let's say you've got a big budget, you want to go whole hog with a real luxury watch. How do you do this in a way that is not going to be bound to fail?
It is very difficult. You know, see, it's so hard. I feel like you almost have to bring the person you want to gift to the store with them.
Exactly. I think what you've got to do is you've got to set a budget.
Yep.
And then make it just an outing. Make it an experience. Let them choose, in other words. Because if you try to buy for a person who is an expert, you are going to choose incorrectly. And I think that given the amount of money that's at stake, that's not it's too big to fail, in other words. Some gifts can be returned, no hard feelings. That's not one of them. So in order to set yourself up for success, don't guess. Discuss a budget ahead of time, and then, you can always find something, a candy bar, Dubai chocolate, whatever, to actually give in a box on the holiday. And then you go out and you get the watch together. And then you've got that memory of going out and doing it together. And that's the first memory you build around that watch.
And it's a positive memory, and you instantly are connected to the item more so than just it's yours.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's impossible to buy a true luxury watch unless the person expressly telegraphs it. Like if the person says, I want this, well, then you can go buy that. And maybe make the manner of giving the gift the surprise. Because, again, the more the watch itself is a surprise, the more likely it will be a bad one.
Yeah, and it's so weird. A watch is such a personal thing. You can be carbon copies of somebody and pick different watches than they would, different timepieces, different things to wear in general. I think if we're talking about something that's an easy pick, something that
let's talk about like practical gift giving now.
So let's just say your significant other is into watches. You know nothing about watches. Maybe you think they're dumb. So a strap is a tall order because you need to know measurements. A watch box, case, or travel case is kind of a perfect, pretty universal, very useful gift. Now, most watch guys will have one of these in some way, so get one monogrammed.
That's actually not a bad idea. I would say, some sort of a travel case, a watch roll, a watch box, even a good winder. And I do emphasize a good winder because a bad one will magnetize your watch.
Oh, there's horror stories with winders too.
So I would say realistically what you want to do is you want to get these things. the highest possible quality, because now we're talking probably hundreds, at most thousands of dollars. But it's guaranteed that if the person has automatic watches, they'll like a high-quality winder. If they've got good watches, they'll love a high-quality travel pouch or watch box or watch roll. So this is a really safe bet where you can focus on things like materials, hardware, online reviews that are easy to understand for products that aren't super specialized. If you're trying to figure out which 1960s Patek Philippe to buy for someone, you're going down in flames. But if you're trying to find a good watch roll, you can read a normal review by a normal human being in normal English or French or whatever you speak, and get a sense of what the best is. Like, that's something you can research without being an expert.
I will say, too, I think there's something to, as a watch guy, and Tim, I know you've been gifted watches here and there. I think there's something to be said for purchasing an inexpensive watch that you, the gift giver, likes. Hey, I saw this G-Shock and I thought of you. This watch made me think of you and I wanted you to have it. I think there's something to be said for that, and I think that's a special thing as well. It may not be what the person wants, but it's also a very positive experience with that watch. Maybe they have a collection of mechanical watches and maybe somebody made the decision, hey, I saw this weird rubber watch and I liked it, and I bought it for
That's
you.
not a bad idea, actually. I would go so far as to say that you could even expand that a little bit by picking a watch. If you're talking about a cheap watch, like something like a Swatch System 51, pick the one that most reflects your own personality.
Yes.
If this is someone who's far away, who doesn't see you that often, it's almost like a little piece of you with them. And they're not going to be upset that you gave them an eccentric watch that reminds them of your eccentric self. So for me, like a Swatch System 51 System Frog, I own one because I got one as a gift because my mom knew that's my favorite color. But that would also be a good, sub $200 gift for me to give to someone else to remind them of me, like a friend or a family member you don't see often. So that really works too. G-Shock or Swatch watches, they cannot go wrong.
Can't beat it.
Whether it's something that reflects you or them, the price is so acceptable, it will be welcomed.
Without a doubt. And I think the last low-hanging fruit of ease are books. And books can be difficult because, of course, we don't know what people do have. But, there are some official books. There are some unofficial books. There are some, books based in history surrounding specific historical events such as the moon landing, for example. Things like that are directly correlated, but even slightly adjacent.
And you don't have to work that hard. Just if you know the person collects Patek Philippe, there's so many books about that. If you know the person collects Rolex, there's a million spotter's guides and collector guides. If you want to collect vintage Panerai, I'm sure you can find something, written by John Goldberg or something on vintage Panerai watches from like the classical period of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So books are easier to do because even if you guess a little bit wrong, the person might actually be interesting. If he's into Patek Philippe and give him a book on Vacheron, that might still be interesting.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's all adjacent to the topic in which we love.
I would also say that loop system remains sort of like a crown jewel among stocking stuffers. I'm actually not part of the routing section that thinks loop system is the best loop available. I actually like to have a really narrowly focused, high-powered loop as opposed to a less powerful one with a big field of vision. But I find that most people, for the ooh and ah factor, seem to think loop system is really something special. And if the perception is that this is the Cadillac of loops, and you've got a few $100s to spend on a person who's invested in high-end watches, this could be a great fit because now you've bought them a way to better enjoy the watches they already have, and maybe even something that they can whip out at a Red Bar or a watch collector meetup and impress their friends. Like that's like a status symbol loop. If like a Nautilus is a status symbol watch, loop system is a status symbol loop, and that's something you can buy and do and get it right.
Very much so. Loop system, I like loop system. Tim, you're spot on. I mean, you can buy a $30, 20X loop and it's better. But I like loop system. It's in a really nice package. Its
calling card is the clarity of the image and the field of vision. Whereas I love to have a tiny little like thumb tip sized loop that's as powerful as the sun. That's just me. That's how I prefer to look at movements. Loop system's also great if you want to look at dials. If you've got a guy who's like a vintage Rolex fan or a woman who's a vintage Rolex fan, there's not a whole lot of movement gazing going on there. But with really old Rolex dials and bezels and hands, that might actually perversely be a great gift because they love those things so unreasonably. And sometimes, like, 60% of the value of your vintage Rolex could be the dial. So don't you want to see it better?
I mean, it's 60%, sometimes 90%.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You're
it could be
so
a
right
lot
about
more.
that. It's, oh yeah, we have the dial discussion very often in the office.
And, you know, there's Everest straps, there's Strapistry, there's Rubber Bee. There's a million companies doing straps these days. A gift certificate goes a long way. A gift certificate to get good straps. Give them $1,000 worth of straps. That will be a great gift.
Yeah, and I mean, gosh, a strap breathes such new life into a watch. So that's a great idea. I didn't think of the gift certificate route, actually. That's pretty spot on.
Yeah, because if you're going to give them a watch, nobody gives someone a $20,000 gift certificate. I don't know, maybe that world exists with American Express, Express Black Cards and G6s and all that stuff. I don't live in that world. But yeah, you can give people a gift certificate to a strap maker. And whether it's a Tissot PRX or a Patek Philippe, you're going to find something you want. So that's kind of where I go with that. Otherwise, I suppose you could give a certificate to like a build a watch class, like an AWCI build your own watch class. That would be really cool. Actually work with watchmaking tools with an expert instructor. Go to Harrison, Ohio for 3 days or one of their mobile workshops and build your own like $600 big pilot style watch, and then you get to keep it.
That's a really great idea. That's a really fun idea. Well, I mean, like in the same sense, like a membership to a watch club, NAWCC, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good way to go. I really think that if it's like the kind of person who's really into watches and would like to touch watchmaking tools for the first time, it's like Build-A-Bear for an adult.
It literally spot on to what it is.
Okay, so now we're going to do a little sort of gifting segment where I guessed to the best of my ability what Armand would like to receive as a watch gift. And I think he's going to guess to the best of his ability.
We went shopping in the vault, and gosh, it was fun, I'll tell you.
Yeah, so we literally went and we picked stuff from the inventory that we thought the other would enjoy most. So Armand, this was your idea, so lead off.
All right. Do you want to be gifted first, or do you want to gift first?
I'll be gifted first.
All right. Well, we have yours right in here. Let me take a look.
Bum. And by the way, if you're not like watching the video companion to this, if you're actually listening to it on a podcast platform, you may not understand that right now Armand is looking through a Christmas stocking for a gift that he's going to apocryphally give
I'm going to go
me.
ahead and have you reach in and go ahead and pull out this first one right here. This one in my hand.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. You're not kidding. Let me double check. Is it? Oh, Vacheron Constantin Quai. This isn't the 100-meter one, but that's
it is
okay.
not. I didn't have a 100-meter one, but
I have that one in my cart right now. That's where it is.
I knew it was here. I couldn't find.
You knew that I would gravitate towards it, so you got as close as you could after
Got as close as I could.
So we're just going to say that this is the 100-meter Constantin Quai, the one that was made from like 2017 to 2019. It had a really short window when it became the sports watch it always should have been. Like when it came out in 2008, it was this weird, like anti-counterfeiting themed build your own watch where you could combine palladium and gold and titanium, and no one bought that watch because it was so weird.
A strange thing, such a phenomenon in the watch world. A Trinity brand build your own, put it together. Yeah, there's palladium as an option. Yeah, you have titanium as an option.
And it was so big that, like, if you thought the Code 1159 was too big to be a dress watch, well, the generation before that, just as the world's finance scene was melting down, Vacheron launched a build-your-own multi-material dress watch the size of a brick. And they included all this weird anti-counterfeiting tech from currency printing and passport production, and no one bought it. And I guess it was maybe 7 years later that they decided they were just going to say, look, strip it down. 3 hands, a date, a steel case, an automatic movement, the cheapest Geneva Seal Vacheron you can buy, and that's going to be the idea. And then 2 years after that, they made it 100 meters water resistant. So with a steel case, loom, 100 meters, and the same movement as the overseas automatic, by the way. Like, to me, this is like the best entry-level Vacheron money can buy.
This watch has grown on me a lot. It is a little big for my taste, but you know what? It doesn't feel too big on the wrist. I'll hold a firm opinion and say it looks horrible on alligator. It looks amazing on rubber.
And they do make a rubber strap
looks
for it.
Incredible on rubber. And I mean, it just fits.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to throw this on my wrist. I'm going to take the real watch that Santa brought and throw this on my wrist real quick. Just going to prove to you guys that that's not your gift, Armand. Don't get too comfortable.
I was just remarking, I did a shoot yesterday just remarking on this crown, actually. The crown on this and the DBS.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. It's unbranded. It's got drillings. It's got knurlings.
Beautiful.
It is. That's the crown jewel of crowns. So this is a great watch. This is a fantastic piece. I would be very happy because there are some places you can't take that watch down there. And all those places are the places where a 100-meter steel, fully loomed, automatic winding sports watch is ready to go. And again, this is not a cut rate Vacheron. This is not like the entry level 56, where it's a very good watch, but in this era, it feels more like a Richemont corporate product than a Vacheron. This is every inch of Vacheron, and a great alternative if you're not into the integrated bracelet look. Like this is so offbeat that it becomes a great alternative to like the cliche of an overseas.
And it's less recognizable. You know, if you're worried about wearing your watch out in public, which some people are, and you know, they're both correct and incorrect depending on the circumstance. But this is the lesser known, lesser recognized, actually remarkably difficult to tell what it is unless you know type of timepiece.
Yeah. Do we have like an approximate price on that? Because I want people to know more or less what these things cost.
Yeah, that's somewhere in the mid-teens right now.
Yeah. So basically, new Daytona money. If you could buy the Daytona at retail, you get a Geneva Hallmark Vacheron sports watch. For me, the only compromise is that it's got a tungsten rotor versus rose in the overseas. But when the whole movement's Geneva sealed, you really care what the rotor's made of? I don't.
And, you know, tungsten's an interesting material. It's different. I get it's not a precious metal, but it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, where else do you see an ounce of tungsten in your daily life? Like, that's probably it, unless you're making, you know, rods from God, like impact weapons that fall off satellites. Okay, so let me see. This is...
Those are yours. These are
for me.
Those are for you.
Okay.
These are for me.
Then you pick one now from your stocking and see whether I guessed right. Remember we talked about watches that remind you of someone? There you go.
Okay. All right. Funny. This is the Geophysic re-edition, the JLC stainless steel Geophysic re-edition that came out in what, 2014?
That's right.
I was just talking about this watch with one of the guys in the office literally yesterday because an original vintage is coming up in the New York Phillips December 6th auction.
For those keeping score, they typically retail between about $30,000 and $35,000. The E158, the original Geophysic.
Adore this watch. Oh, such a good pick and very, very off the radar for me. You know, something that I don't look at very often, but every time I see it, I love it.
And here's the other thing, too. Like, it's not the dress watch it appears to be. The original Geophysic was considered more like an horlogerie response to something like a Railmaster or a Milgauss. Really, the original Geophysic was like a blow-for-blow rival to the Patek Philippe A-Magnetic. But the original one used a gorgeous P478 BWSBR movement that was chronometer certified, anti-magnetic. The watch was shock resistant. It was water resistant. It was basically created for the International Geophysical Year of 1958. And it wound up being the finest sports watch of its era in terms of quality. So this one came out in 2014, and it is a sports watch. It's 600 Gauss anti-magnetic. It's 100 meters water-resistant, automatic steel. It's loomed, and it's got the crosshair dial, which was rare on the original watch.
And it is at home on the wrist. This is 39 millimeters.
Yeah, you're right. It's 38.5.
Okay, perfect.
It's a tweener.
You know, the faux patina has not really ever bothered me in a major way, especially not on a watch like this. I actually find it more legible because while I'm generally not into stark white dials, this has a stark white dial that is textured, but the hands being that they have this kind of this cream patina feel to it, jump off the dial.
It does help to have some color.
And it really helps to have just a little bit of difference there. Oh, Tim, this is a very off the radar. You'd have to know me to pick this pick.
So that's also cool because JLC had a unique timing standard for that watch. When that came out in 2014, all the steel, rose gold, and platinum models, they were timed to a new master 1,000 hour standard, which was -1 + 4 seconds per day. So the idea there is that it really is tested beyond chronometer standards like the original one was. So it's a very dressy watch, but it's also kind of a go-anywhere. You put that on a rubber strap or a textile strap, you can absolutely take that swimming.
Well, and I love little things too, like, well, the ostrich is amazing. I love the little loom pips on the brushed rehaut. It's little touches like that like reach directly back into the catalog of the original and pull it physically into the new one, because this is something that's not done quite as often anymore. A direct application of loom onto something like a rehaut, onto something external other than a dial or handset.
And the crazy thing is that was their best solution to replicating the original, because on the original watch, it would have been a radium dial, and the radium was actually applied to the underside of the plexiglass crystal.
Oh, interesting.
The original one actually had crystal loom. So they had to figure out how to do that because they couldn't locate it on the sapphire for this watch. So they decided that the rehaut was their best bet. And so the original watch was even weirder than that. That's the cool part.
It is awesome. I do like how they modernized the case a little bit, but they maintained the overall lug shape in a really good way. And I'm assuming this is a stamped case, which would have been very similar to what it would be for the original.
And it's less common than the original, at least in steel. The original one, they made 1,038 of them in steel. This is 800 pieces. So
no joke.
They kept it rare. It's like the original tribute to deep sea. They didn't make so many that it depreciated the original. Like, this is just as special in its own way. And you can wear it every day. It's not as delicate as the original.
And it's comfortable. It's very, very comfortable. The really, really solid pick.
I'm glad I got that one right. Okay.
I like this.
Excellent. Okay, so now I'm going to reach in. Hopefully there's no mouse traps in here.
Get the smaller of the two.
Okay, let me do my best to find the smaller. Okay. I found one that's more rectangular.
Yes, that's the one.
There we go.
I went for a little color.
Oh, yeah. Coral dial. Oris ProPilot X. I'm surprised you didn't give me the Kermit, or do we just not have the Kermit?
I did. I was looking for a green watch, and I thought, he has the Moser, so I'm going to give him a different color now, actually.
That works well. I mean, first of all, guys, this is the gold standard for service interval and for warranty in a world where Patek Philippe only recently started giving 5 years. Oris jumped out to offer 10. That is a 10-year service interval, 10-year warranty, 100 meters, loomed, manufacture movement, adjusted to chronometer standards, anti-magnetic to over 1,000 Gauss, and it's a 39. It's a really good size.
Is it a 5-day power reserve or
5 days? Yeah,
5 days.
2 barrels.
Yep.
And it's a fantastic wearing, looking, and priced watch. Like, to me, I think you would have more adventures in this than a Nautilus, because I think you'll wear this more than the Nautilus.
I think so too. You're not embarrassed to beat the snot out of this. You're not embarrassed to go anywhere and do anything with this. And I mean, it's, let's call it what it is. It's inexpensive in comparison to a Nautilus. So you have less pause about jumping into the ocean with it.
And I'll even add this, like, one place where this watch does not betray its price, which is where every other watch in this price range really falls apart. The bracelet and the clasp don't feel cheap.
Oris punches above their weight class, and I include myself in this, but I feel like collectors don't often give it the respect it deserves. And again, including myself in this entirely, because they are a relatively small brand. They do remarkable things for their size. They do remarkable things for their price point, and they do remarkable things even when compared to other brands.
Yeah, twin barrels, chronometer level timing, silicon escapement. I mean, there's nothing you can fault on this watch. This is a watch that is punching above its weight in terms of quality. And I once unironically compared this to a Nautilus. And my premise was that with the Nautilus, you're going to be almost wearing it defensively, like you're paranoid about scratching it, because it's an investment. This is an investment in fun.
Yeah. And, one thing I'll say about this, too, this is a watch all its own. This did not borrow design from anywhere. I mean, the bracelet is original, the case is original, the bezel is original. It's honestly, taking this out of the vault and spending a little time with it was a lot of fun for me because of all of the above. Now, the Achilles heel for me, the thing that feels weird about this watch, and I want your opinion on it, Tim, is the airplane seatbelt bracelet.
Yeah, I think it's so weird that I like it.
It's a quirk.
It doesn't. Here's the thing. This is part of why the clasp doesn't feel cheap. That you've got this lift lock system where you pull up a flap and it unlocks the fold. Like, to me, that's pretty cool because this could have been an off-the-shelf part from a supplier.
2 push buttons.
You buy a Louis Vuitton tambour, and I remember I was there at the launch in Paris in 2023, and everyone liked everything except when they got to the clasp, where this watch that was developed cost no object had this kind of like off-the-shelf clasp that I've seen on a million other watches. The fact is, the Oris, which costs probably 1/4 as much, has a much more substantial and distinctive clasp. So is it a gimmick? Sort of. It's like one of those 1960s cars where you open the door and the seat pivots to the side. Yeah. Is that necessary? No. Is it cool? Kind of.
Yeah, it's totally cool.
Like we remember it half a century later, right?
Yep.
So I think this is actually pretty distinctive. This is a selling point in the same sense that, Rolex Blue Lume is a selling point. Does it need to be blue? No. Is it distinctive? Yes. So, yeah, Oris, go for it. Hey, if you could give me a buckle like this on every watch that costs like $5,000, I'd be a happy man because it's not just different, it does feel substantial.
And quite honestly, if Oris can do it, and they do, and they can, and they develop this, everyone can. The brands charging the same money can do this as well. And, not taking anything away from Oris, in fact, giving them all the credit, they're really onto something with the way their watches feel in hand at their price point.
Yeah, I would say this about Oris. There's clearly two different levels of Oris. There's the manufacturer movements and then generally stuff that's Sellita-based. Both of them offer good value. Like to the point where some of the Sellita-based Orises are something you could give as a gift without taking too much of a risk.
Yep.
Like if you're talking about a big crown pointer date in steel, that's something you can buy and not be like worried that they'll be horrified or put off. I think that's the kind of watch that makes everyone smile and you're not out too much money.
And I totally agree. I think it's kind of it's kind of a blanket design. It's kind of just a good overall aesthetic with a good representation of its complications.
Very underrated, the Oris 10-day manual wind movements. They're not around anymore as far as I know, but
you can find them.
Those are out there. They're great pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fantastic. We are rolling right now. So Armand, pull your next stocking stuffer.
Let's see here.
I think they have these kind of stockings in Beverly Hills. There's another one that reminds you of me.
Oh, man. Yeah. This is a good one. This is a good pick. We have let's see, this is a 15710, Tim?
Yeah, Royal Oak Offshore Diver Funky Colors Edition from 2017.
It's such a fun color. Thank you for this. I love green. And I like the diver. It's a wearable offshore for me. It's big, don't get me wrong, but man.
And it's Tim Masso green.
It is Tim Masso green by the way, with the signature blue too.
Yeah, that's a great combination right there.
This is a great combination. This is so much fun, this watch. I remember these coming out. I remember thinking, wow, I didn't expect to see something so fun from AP. And then honestly, these were the start of a new fun era for AP. You would see a few more bright colors come out. After this, you would see Chronos come out, and yeah, man, fun pick. Was this a limited edition for anything in particular?
The subsequent year's chronograph, I believe, was limited, but this and the white version in 2017 were boutique exclusives.
Oh, okay.
So they knew how hot that was back then. They made that boutique exclusive. Those watches in 17 were based on the 1997 Royal Oak 25th anniversary editions. So perversely, they celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Royal Oak with a series of Tutti Frutti offshores in 1997, and the lime green is one of the hardest to find. So
also happens to be one of the coolest.
It is awesome if you can find one of those original, like Petite Tapisserie with the lime green dial. But in 2017, they honored the 25th anniversary pieces by bringing back many of those Royal Oak Offshore funky colors, and this was part of the set. And so this is the one that meant the most to me, and I thought that, you know, this kind of fits your rock star personality, since you are quite literally a rock and roll guitarist.
No, this absolutely fits my personality. You know, I did a little, as the kids are calling it, dopamine dressing this morning. I put on a pair of Nikes that I like a lot instead of my standard, you know, the black leather Chelsea boots. But this kind of fits the overall appeal of that, so to speak, dopamine dressing on a gray day like we're having today, when it's going to get dark around 4:15. I think I would don this, and I think I would feel fantastic.
Yeah, that is an awesome watch. And as an offshore diver, it's easier to read. It's tougher. Your downstream service costs are going to be lower than a chrono. And it's even a little bit thinner because it's just one movement, not a modular movement.
And you get the display case back. This was the first reference for the diver display case back.
That's true. Hard to believe.
I know, right? And also what I like about this is the internal rotating bezel. I think that's a lot of fun. That's like an extra, you know, complication without...
That's like the Oris buckle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a gimmick, but it's a fun one.
Quirk.
Yeah.
Is it the easiest thing to use? No, but I like it, and I can see myself actively fiddling and playing and using with it.
And this came from a pretty good era in AP when they were no longer laser focused on co-branding special editions with F1 drivers and tennis stars and golfers. Like, this was an era when AP was comfortable celebrating AP's own heritage, instead of giving every mediocre celebrity their own special edition.
And it was from a bygone era when AP had authorized dealers.
That's right. The idea of there being an AP boutique exclusive.
Only.
Yeah. Like, that's almost
It's every watch now.
It's redundant. Yeah, it's boutique only.
Really good pick. I love this piece.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that worked out. Now let's see what we got here. We got a large pouch. So.
This is another fun one.
Oh my God! I thought it was going to be the Devon Tread.
I looked for a cool Devon actually, but this was the next coolest thing.
Okay, this is really cool because you've got, I want to say like a 7-day tourbillon here, but it's the Death Star tourbillon. So this is from Kross Studio. Marco Tedeschi did a lot of central tourbillon, long power reserve, lugless, case back winding watches, and this is perhaps the most elaborate boxed set in the history of watches. The boxed set for this is literally that
it's
long.
Outrageous.
And weighs like 80 pounds. And it's full of Star Wars movie props. And like, this is actually Rogue One themed, because the boxed set features a bunch of movie props from Rogue One, including kyber crystals. It also includes a bunch of accessory straps that you can use on this, because it has a quick release system, so you can swap out those accessory straps. This actually has monogramming on it that duplicates the surface topography of the Death Star.
And it looks really cool in person, actually. Like, I looked at it, I glanced at it, and I thought, wait a minute, is this strap cracking? Is this dry rot? and I glanced a little further, and I was like, oh no, this is really cool.
And the nice thing is, like, it is actually subtle enough that someone's not going to be like, hey, you're wearing your Death Star tourbillon today. You know, if they don't know what it is, they're not going to pick it out. It is there right at in the middle over the tourbillon. And then it's actually flanked by both a standard Star Destroyer, as seen over the soon-to-be-destroyed city of Jeddah in Rogue One, and then the Super Star Destroyer, which, as we all know, was Darth Vader's ship from Return of the Jedi. So you've got both of them there, and then you've got this text in Urabesh, which is an actual language. It's not fully fleshed out. It's not like French. But when I reviewed this watch years ago, I just described it as, you know, kind of like a generic Star Wars cipher or glyphs, and they said, no, actually, that's a real language, and we can translate it. And
that's
so,
amazing.
So it's a real language, and essentially it means like push to set. So, you know, you can wind it using the case back, but then you push this, and you can also set it using the case back. And like I mentioned, it has the most ridiculous boxed set. This is a 10-piece edition, but it has the most ridiculous box set in the history of watches, to the point where we have that box stored separately from our other boxes because it won't fit on the shelves. Like, we have it in like a storehouse or something like that.
The one thing that stood out to me when I was picking this out is the subtleness and wearability of it, actually. I did not expect it to be wearable in really any capacity, but there are no lugs. There are no lugs. And the dome, despite being significant, is round. So it doesn't feel like you're hitting edges. It doesn't feel like you're going to catch it on a door jamb. And I mean, granted, this is not a watch to daily wear, but you could.
It's actually really easy to wear. I'm also going to say, I think I said 7 days. I think this one's 5 days. And more recently, Marco has launched a 7-day version of his Tourbillon watches. But, okay, we have this listed at 45 millimeters. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. What's important is that it's lugless.
Yep.
So it wears absolutely round. It reminds me of my JLC Snowdrop Memovox, which is a perfectly round watch. This is obviously a much more intricately done thing, but I met with Marco at Watches and Wonders this year, and he's an incredible constructor. He's one of the most technical constructors out there, and he spent most of his life making things for other people. Now, I understand that his movie and comic book themed Tourbillon watches are not for everyone, but this one's subtle enough that if you don't know it's a Death Star watch or even a Star Wars watch, you're not going to pick that up. So it's as nerdy as you want it to be. Like, if you want to disclose that to people, I would say mostly disclose it to people you know fairly well. Maybe it's not like the thing to bring up is like an opener.
Don't try to impress a date with that.
I don't know, maybe at like Comic-Con perhaps. It's like, I know Star Wars and I'm rich. It's like, oh my, such an eligible bachelor. Like, do you read the comics too? Oh yes, I have. I know all of the legends.
Hey girl, do you want to do a Death Star trench run?
Okay, this is a PG-13 show. I don't know if we can do that. As far as I know, it was only guys in that particular flight. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. Like, if you are the kind of person who lives Star Wars as a lifestyle. I know a guy who's like a huge Peanuts fan, and he's like a VP at a major media company, and he has no interest in space, really, but he owns all 3 silver Snoopies because he wanted to have the full set of Snoopy watches, and it now sits alongside like the Swatch Snoopy.
I love that.
So you might be really into like Star Wars.
That's a pointed collection as far as I'm concerned. I dig that.
Yeah, like if you're going to meet some like sheikh who you know is a huge Star Wars fan, and you're of the persuasion that business deals are built on lavish gifts, in some part of the world, that's how you
Without
do business.
a doubt.
To prime the pump, this might be the ultimate icebreaker or oil breaker, depending on where you are. That is great. I mean, that is cool. And by the way, you absolutely nailed it. Like, that is me.
That is you. I love it.
You want to know what? I'm wondering, like, how long is it going to be before inevitably we get like a Star Wars Star Trek crossover? Like, they're making Star Trek movies again now. And at some point, you're going to run out of material in Star Wars. Like
if that were going to happen, that would have been in the 80s, right?
I don't know, because back in the 80s, the idea that there would be like 11 more Star Wars movies was inconceivable.
That's very fair.
Like, these people were writing letters to each other and like fan fiction and all sorts of like, before, like all sorts of correspondence before the internet even existed. And they never imagined they would get another movie after Return of the Jedi. And I mean, if you can have Deadpool and Wolverine under the same banner as the rest of the Marvel comics.
As Blade.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you can have all that in one world and you can reunify like Doctor Strange and, Spider-Man and, Iron Man,
Captain
and
America,
the X-Men, like if you can like cross over all of these, I don't see why you can't do like Star Trek and Star Wars. And that would be great because the fans hate each other. And so no matter what, people are going to see the movie, whether they're hate watching it or like in love. Like, it's going to be so provocative.
I almost feel like you can't because the presence of the Force doesn't exist in Star Trek.
That's true. But then again, there are certain properties of, singularities by which you may pass over to other universes and timelines.
Very true.
And,
very true.
The mysteries of space are manifold and untested. Anything can happen out there.
Well, the thing too. Oh man, we should start another podcast about this.
I mean, this could go on for 6 hours. Okay, the bottom line is this is a great choice. So if you want the exact opposite of this watch, Armand, why don't you check out the next watch? that I brought for
fun.
You. Vacheron Historique Ultrafine 1955.
Oh man. Oh. Okay. There is no more classic than this. There is truly no more classic. Beautiful movement, beautiful manual winding. And this is I really like this case back a lot. You have a Geneva seal in the case back, of course, but you have a 5-screw screw down system on the case back. You also see a little bit of the crown tube on the mid case, which I don't know if we can zoom in on here.
It's like they shrink wrapped around that stem.
Yeah, I mean they really sculpted that mid case, and it's Tim. Is this 6 millimeters?
4.1.
Oh my gosh! I almost feel scared putting it on. It's
and it's 36 millimeters. It's not too small. It's just really thin.
It has serious presence on the wrist. It is impossibly thin. I mean, impossibly thin. And when you look at it, the wrist gets framed really nicely by it. I mean, my gosh, this is a dress watch that you never need another dress watch.
And that watch, one of the few non-Journes you'll encounter that has a solid gold movement. It looks like yellow gold. It is. It looks like yellow gold because it is yellow gold. It's not gilded. It's solid. And
what's the occasion?
The occasion on that watch was, well, they launched it in 2010, and it's a bit of an homage to the 1955 bicentennial piece for Vacheron. So Vacheron was 200 in 1955, and so it launched the reference 6099 with a LeCoultre-based reference 1003 movement. That 1003 movement comes back in this variant, still 1.64 millimeters thick, but now in solid gold. It's 5-position adjusted, it's Geneva seal movement and case. And so the occasion is that they wanted to pay respects to one of the most important models in their history at one of the most important junctures in their history. And so to this day, that is still one of the thinnest manual wine movements you'll encounter. And it's a monoblock case, no separate lugs, mid-case, or bezel. Everything loads through the back.
That is remarkable. This is a home run of a watch that I would have never picked for myself. And guess what? I like it.
Awesome. I'm glad I chose right. It's hard to hate that watch.
It's impossible to hate this watch. I mean, I see the hallmark on the movement now. I see the 750. I was completely unaware of this, and I can't even get over it.
So it's a cool watch, and the neat thing is this sort of shows you why, the death of customer calibers has been perhaps overstated. This isn't a manufacturer movement. It is distantly based on the Jaeger-LeCoultre 803. AP had its own version, the Caliber 2003. They debuted theirs in 1953. Vacheron waited on the 1003 caliber until their 200th anniversary in 55, and then they launched it in the 6099. Whereas the original 6099 is only about 31, 32 millimeters. This 36 is just the right size.
This is gorgeous.
Awesome. All right. So I think we got just about everything here. We were going to answer some questions from the field, and let's start with this one. Okay. So one of the great controversies I ever dealt with on my Facebook page was when people started posting guns, and I wanted to make it clear that I was okay with it. There were a lot of people who were not from the United States who took it the wrong way. And, I had to emphasize that, first, this is a U.S.-oriented watch group, and, that is part of American culture. Now, if it gets to the point of aggression or deliberate offense, I'm going to ask you to take it to like a gun-specific Facebook page, but I'm not offended by it. I think we laid down our ground rules, and it's been I would call it like a DMZ between the people who like it and don't, but they've coexisted. The problem is offline when you actually want to shoot with a watch on your wrist. And I feel like that's where you really do have to make a choice. And there's not many watches that can hold up to that.
I shoot somewhat regularly. I, pistols, rifles, shotguns, depending. I go to a range.
Let's start with shotguns, because that's where I have the most reservations.
Yeah.
Do you wear your Rolex when you shoot?
Yes, I do. Every single time. I'm not easy on my watches. I say that every single podcast we record, and I would wear this if it was a Patek. I would wear it if it was a Vacheron. I would see what it could take, and that's part of the beauty of these. They can be fixed. So again, I make no.
And that's money where your mouth is, because that's your watch.
This is my watch. Yeah, I do everything in this. So
he's speaking as Armand, not as the 1916 company, but this is a guy who bought the watch with his own money, and he's talking about how he wears it.
Yep, and I I have a relatively useless shotgun. It's very small. It's stockless. It's a pump shotgun. And I've shot that quite a few times with this. And that's, I mean, the major brunt of the recoil that you're taking, it's the heaviest recoil firearm that I own.
Yeah, I would say that if you're out there with like a 12 gauge and 00 shot, maybe pump the brakes on that idea. But if it's a smaller gun, I mean, I'll be honest with you. If you're going out and you're firing match grade 22s just for the sake of like honing your aim, I think you're fine with almost anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you get up to, honestly, I think you're fine shooting a 1911. I mean, if you go up to like a 44 Magnum, then maybe have a different discussion. But I've shot 44 with this. I've shot a fully automatic, 7.62 AK with it.
Yeah, I think if Taurus, Raging Bull, or Desert Eagle mean anything to you, I would say probably like put the watch in a locker first. But that's like kind of our advice there. Now, in terms of watches that maybe are more designed expressly for this sort of thing, you're going to want to look at something that's got shock absorbers in the case. So Bremont, for many years, made watches with rubber shock absorbers inside, and you can usually see the key that's on the dial. So again, just type in Bremont shock absorber watch, and many, many, many things will come up. Also, there was the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Compressor Extreme line, where you actually had a external case made of whatever it was, tight, usually steel, sometimes precious metal. And then you had that internal case that was made of titanium, and there was a physical spring barrier between the two of them. So you actually had a shock absorber system between the inner case and the outer case of the Master Compressor Extreme series. And so that's a great example of a watch that was designed for, the hammer game at carnivals, or for batting, or for golf. If you want to go to a driving range with those watches, JLC basically, said, look, you're going to struggle to break it unless you're physically sustaining human injury in the process. And so, I sort of look at that and I think, okay, well, that's a watch that I would take shooting, and I wouldn't be too worried about that. I would be more worried, just in general, if you're shooting large caliber, if you're shooting something with a lot of kick, if you're shooting something that's a big shotgun, if you're a Tremors fan and you're trying to like live out your Burt Gummer fantasy, 475 H&H mag, I think you can pump the brakes on any kind of a dress watch. I think you need to just, I know Armand would wear his Patek to the range. I would not bring a dress watch.
I'm a stress tester.
Yeah, I mean, granted, there are dress watches out there that have sports watch movements inside them, and that's just a fact. But I still think that any Holy Trinity thing, I would be very reluctant to do that. I would look for something that's actually rated for high impact. And along those lines, IWC has an insane big pilot's watch shock absorber.
I was hoping you were going to bring this one up.
The XPL. Highly recommend the shock absorber XPL. Whether you think the price is justified or not, if you don't want to break your watch at the range, this is a way to do it. And I suppose it is a military-inspired watch, which, if you are military and go into the range, this could be a good way of dovetailing your themes. So tell me about this watch, Armand. The big pilot's watch XPL.
When this watch came out, I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it looked. And now I kind of do. I like the unapologetic shock absorption. I like the shapes inside of the case. I like the way the watch looks. It's kind of to me, this is what unapologetic modernism is in watches. And I mean that in every sense of the word. Shock, the technology, kind of the colors, the way the watch looks. They're reaching into a line that is a legacy line and modernizing it.
Yeah, I would say that's a good way to describe it, because people take offense when you go after an icon, and I think the big pilot's watch is an icon. And a lot of people objected to the way this looked, and I'm like, well, yeah, but if you were to design a no-holds-barred sports watch in the modern era, it probably wouldn't look like something made in 1940. Like if you were to take the spirit of the original, which was the most modern pilot's watch possible, and then apply that today, you would probably get something like a Breitling Aerospace Professional, or you'd get this, which can't be broken.
Yeah.
You got the water resistance, you got the shock resistance, you've got the anti-magnetic qualities, and
they show it to you, and I like that. I didn't at first, and then, you spend time with the things, you study it. I like it. I like that they show you it.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool one. And I would say, look at the architecture of the movement you're dealing with. If it's fairly simple, is it thin? like that Vacheron we had, the ultra thin here, I would not take this shooting. Look at the architecture. Is it a full balance bridge? Is it a free sprung balance? Is it a fairly thick movement? Like this AP right here, like this is a very tough movement. This was designed from the outset to be a base caliber in like a Royal Oak Offshore chronograph and for a diver. This is a tough movement. It's not super thin. It's a Gyromax balance. It's a full balance bridge. It's designed to take a pounding. If you got something with a single-sided balance cock, if you got something that is old, like a non-shock protected watch, like Grandpa's watch from like 1950, don't shoot
Pre-Inca block.
Yeah, like if it's got a solid capstone without a shock protection spring, don't shoot with any vintage watch. It might be cool if you've got vintage guns to go out and use them with a vintage watch, but that's like swimming with a vintage dive watch. Like, don't try to, cosplay Jacques Cousteau, because it's going to end in tears.
Fundamentally agree with that. It will absolutely end poorly for you.
Okay, so we got guns and watches, and I don't think we've suffered too many dropped subscriptions.
Hopefully.
So let's navigate some of the other questions we have there. I think you had another one, Armand.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull that up. Bear with me just a second here. All right.
Also, quartz watches, G-Shocks, and Swatch watches, you're generally good to go. Because even if you did break it, it's a G-Shock, you probably file a warranty claim and get it honored.
All right. When the notion of rectangular watches come up, the two mentioned tend to be JLC's Reverso and Cartier's Tank. But what other brands and models do you think are good to consider for customers, those seeking rectangular watches? I want to jump in and throw the Patek Pagoda out there as a amazing rectangular watch. I would, most gondolas as well, but the Pagoda in particular, the 5111, I think is very, very cool. I think that's such a fun rectangular watch.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think the Moritz Grossman Cornerstone is another great example.
Yeah, cool watch.
And if you want maybe the Crown Prince of rectangular watches, check out the Lange Georg. That is the finger train for the movement in that is the most beautiful ever made. That is truly, short of some vintage piece worth as much as a house, that is the living end of form watches today. In terms of where they started, I would even opine that the original Santos was sort of either a square or a rectangle. It's a bit more complex than that, but I would not feel wrong about recommending that. I think that would be a good step one for form watches, even if it's not quite as rectangular as the Tank.
All squares are rectangles.
That's true. All squares and rectangles are quadrilaterals, but not rectangles are not squares.
Not squares. Yeah. That's right.
So it's important to remember our third grade geometry there. It's like in what was that movie?
I appreciate the subtle ribbing there.
It was the 21 Jump Street movie, right? Is that the one with the shapes? They're going back to school, yeah. AP Chemistry, is that the one with the shapes? No, that's geometry.
Oh, man.
By the way, there is also, I want to say maybe it's the Lang und Heine Anton, but there's also a Tourbillon version of the Georg, which is even more crazy.
Oh, that's wild.
So, okay, maybe that one is the Prince of Form watches. I think it's called the Anton.
Yes, it is.
That is an absolutely wild watch, and it's got that same finger train of bridges on the back. So you can buy that with my blessing. Tell them I sent you.
Oh, and by the way, the half skeletonized Anton is amazing. Wowza.
How is that not something with a 10-year waiting list?
Yeah, that's wild. This is gorgeous. Gosh. Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Off train. Final question. I think it would be interesting to hear about bundled watches or watches that must be bought as groups. Things like the 2005 Blancpain Apotheosis Temporis, Moser Studio Underdog Passion Fruit, Hublot Big Bang set from 2025, or the, quote, AP Royal Oak Rainbow thing from a few years back. I'm assuming they mean the Royal Oaks in the Rainbow Gem set.
Yes.
The full 7-piece set.
So let's tackle that. Armand, would you say this works best when the watches are of vastly disparate price points?
No,
okay.
I wouldn't. Because we're seeing that right now with the Moser Passion Fruit piece. People want one or the other. They don't want both. And that's been interesting to me because I kind of thought of the Moser passion fruit kind of duo as, oh, that's fun. You get kind of a, an everyday beater and you're perpetual. That's really, really cool. But I can't tell you the amount of calls we fielded saying, hey, I want the Studio Underdog. I can't afford the Moser. Or I want the Moser. I don't need the Studio Underdog.
I'm surprised that the guy who's going for the Moser wouldn't just take the hit for whatever the Underdog is worth, like wholesale cost. I mean,
I think it's more so of the I find getting multiple watches at once is sometimes tough. So I think that may be it with sets, so to speak.
Now, it's interesting because this year is the 160th anniversary of Zenith, and they actually do have a boxed set, and primarily because they're limited pieces in blue ceramic, and then one of them is in platinum. It's a very expensive set.
It's an interesting choice for Zenith.
And yeah, I think these are matched serials.
They are.
Do think you can buy the watches individually. I think you can buy them individually. I don't know that you have to buy the whole set. I think that might be a difference there.
That would be a good thing. I didn't know that, actually.
Hey, double check me, because I have no problem being fact checked in real time. This isn't CNN, but we can do our best. I would also say that Moser actually had two weird bundled sets where one was, if not cheap, much less dear than the other. The first was the Studio Underdog Passion Fruit collaboration that you mentioned, and then the second one was the Alpine Motorsports Streamliner collection, where you had the driver's watch, which is a wild skeleton dial streamliner chronograph in blue steel, and the other one is literally a digital smartwatch. I actually thought that worked well because they're so different.
They're so different. I don't love the blue steel. I actually, of that pick, the smartwatch, I think I like a little bit more. But yeah, no, that's an interesting. That's a very interesting kind of set as well. Panerai has had a couple of sets.
Yeah,
and historically, they don't do well.
No, historically, those tend to find their way to like the gray market. I'll be totally honest there. The watches are almost always appealing, but the price in combination is too dear. And a lot of times, it's almost like they're playing on a kind of loyalty that their customer base hasn't had for probably 15 years.
Yeah.
Like back when you could sell that thing and sell it out, no questions asked, like practically from launch.
It is a very behind the times thing, because Panerai, there was a time where they could have put a compass in a case, a cheap compass in a case, and said, hey, this is a Panerai.
At $25,000.
And it would have been mobbed.
Yeah, I think Panerai as a brand began to maybe get off the bench and pump some iron this year, because at Watches and Wonders they were emphasizing a lot of things that had been previous bones of contention. Some of their new watches are going that had lost hacking seconds are now going back to having hacking seconds. Some of the new Luminor Marina models are being uprated to 300 meters like a submersible. So I think they're slowly realizing that they
have to deliver value.
Yeah, you can only broaden your appeal so much. I mean, 38 millimeter cream dial watches. Panerai, if any brand doesn't have to be all things to all people, Panerai is that brand. I think the challenge was in trying to go too broad, they lost some of the depth of the passion that their followers had, which is why I would say since like 2010, matched sets sold only as sets have been tougher sells.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can't get back to where they were. I'm just saying it's going to take a little bit of a fight, because for a couple of years, let's just call them what they are. They were selling ladies' watches. So at that point, you're offering something to literally every conceivable customer.
You're not wrong. And from a business standpoint, that makes sense. But in practice, you just can't do it.
I find that marketing to youth is a good model for marketing to any demographic. With the exception of the full-blown meathead muscle car American male, where you just have to scream as loud as possible. To everyone else, you have to take the message that youth marketers understand, which is that if you say, hey kids, we designed this just for you, they're going to flee. It's going to be so uncool.
Yep.
If you make it like, hey, this is really for adults, I don't know if this is for you, like you might want to pump the brakes and think about this, kid, nothing will be more endearing to them. That is how you market to youth, and I think that reverse psychology, frankly, is how you market anything except to like your core WWE demographic.
That's interesting, the reverse psychology of it.
Yeah, especially in luxury.
Yeah.
Where you've got like these Veblen goods that are more desirable the more expensive they are. I think reverse psychology is the psychology of our industry. Tell someone it's not for them, they can't get enough of it. That's how it works.
Never mind. I won't say that.
So Panerai, maybe it's time to start saying, you know what, guys? I know you might have been Paneristi back in the day, but I don't think this is for you anymore. Like, we're coming out with these tritium dial, 5218 special editions here. I don't know if this is for you anymore. I don't think you can keep up with this kind of, rear view mirror nostalgia. I think, the brand has left you and moved on.
It's the scene from Walk Hard. Nah, Dewey, you don't want any of this.
Yeah, I don't think you want this. The Mare Nostrum. What's that? No one wants this. This is the least popular watch we ever made. Move along, child. Move along.
No, you definitely don't want this. This is a limited edition. It's a carbon copy of the original. No, the original.
Yeah, Caliber 618 Cote de Bear re-edition. This isn't for you. Oh, come on. No. Go. IWC has what you need this year. Go over there. Like at Watches and Wonders.
Oh, man.
Okay, so as we've established here, if you want to market luxury goods to people, you have to disrespect and deceive them, apparently. So we talked about guns. We angered brands.
We gave each other gifts.
We alienated our clients. This was a great episode.
This was a great episode.
Covered a lot of ground. Okay, so if you guys want to make us even more risque and niche, suggest more offensive and divisive comments, topics, and show subject matter, podcasts at the 1916company.com. And to one and all, happy Thanksgiving.